sleepy here. Question. Why are you children of prophecy instead of the children of, say, daydreams? Let's go to the script and study. Daniel's training in Babylon. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into the hands of Nebuchadnezzar, along with some of the artifacts from the temple of God. So people therefore believed that the Ark of the Covenant went to Babylon. Others believe it went to Egypt, to Ethiopia. But it turns out it's in the caves beneath Jerusalem. So, mystery solved. Then the king ordered his chief among the court officials to bring the king's servants, some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and slow to speak, by the way. And qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and the literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them daily amounts of food and wine at the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years. Wonder where we got that 3-year thing from, huh? And after that, they were either to enter the king's service or to be dismissed. I added that part about dismissal. Among these were chosen some of Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, I think it's another way of saying Michael, just a little different, and Azariah. The chief officials gave them new names. To Daniel, the name Belteshazzar; to Hananiah, Shadrach; to Meshach, not going to work here anyway, Meshach; and to Azariah, Abednego. But Daniel resolved not to defile himself with royal food and wine, and asked the chief officials for permission not to defile himself in this way. Now God had caused the officials to show favor and compassion to Daniel, like cheeseburger. But the official told Daniel, "I am afraid of the Lord, the king, who assigned your food and drink. Why should he see you looking worse than the other young men your age? The king would then have my head because of you." Daniel then said to the guard whom the chief official had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, "Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the young men who eat the royal food, and treat your servant in accordance with what you see." Seeing is believing. So he agreed to this and the test of them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any other young men who ate at the royal food, the royal table. Come on, set the tables. So the guard took away the choice food and wine they were drinking and gave them vegetables instead. Skip. Nebuchadnezzar's dream. In the 2nd year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. His mind was troubled, and he could not sleep. So the king summoned the magicians, the enchanters, the sorcerers, and the astrologers, bad choices, sorry, palm readers, to him to tell him the meaning of his dream. They came in and stood before the king. He said to them, "I have had a dream that troubles me, and I want to know what its meaning is." The astrologers answered the king, "May the king live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will interpret it." The king replied to the astrologers, "This is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will have you cut into pieces, and your houses torn into piles of rubble. But if you tell me the dream and explain it, you will receive from me gifts, rewards, and great honor. So tell me the dream and interpret it for me." Once more they replied, "Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will interpret it." Then the king answered, "I am certain that you are trying to gain time because you realize that this was what I firmly decided. If you do not tell me the dream, there is one penalty for you. You have conspired to tell me misleading and wicked things, hoping the situation will change. So then, tell me the dream, and I will know if you can interpret it for me." The astrologers answered the king, "There is no one on earth who can do what the king asks. No king, however great or mighty, has ever asked such a thing of any magician, enchanter, or astrologer. What the king asks is too difficult. No one can reveal it to the king except the gods, and they do not live among humans. So we would have to go visit God someplace else." Well, sometimes His Holy Spirit shows up, irregardless of sacraments. That's proven in China. This made the king so angry and furious that he ordered the execution of all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree was issued, and the wise men were to be put to death. And the men were sent out looking for Daniel and his friends to put them to death. When we'll just call him Arathorn. When Arathorn, the commander of the king's guard, had gone out to put to death the wise men of Babylon, Daniel spoke to him with wisdom and tact, and asked the king's officer, "Why did the king issue such harsh decree?" Aragorn then explained the matter to Daniel. At this, Daniel went to the king and asked for time, so that he might interpret the dream for him. Then Daniel returned to his house and explained the matter to his friends, Abednego, Meshach, and Israel. He urged them to plead for mercy from God of heaven concerning this mystery, so that he and his friends might not be executed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon during the night. So he just said, "Look, you guys go trip, and I want you to pray for God to be merciful to us. I'm going to go trip, and I'm going to ask God to answer the question, which is, what was the dream, and what's the meaning of the dream?" Remember, this is why you're children of prophecy. During the night, the mysteries were revealed to Daniel in vision. Then Daniel praised God in heaven, the God of heaven, and said, Praise be the name of God, forever and ever. Wisdom and power are His. He changes times and seasons." Translation. He disposes kings and rises up others. He gives wisdom to the wise, and the knowledge to the discerning. He reveals the deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, God, of my ancestors. You have given me wisdom and power. You have made known to me what we asked of you. You have made known to me the dream of the king. Daniel interprets the dream. Skip. Daniel replied, "No wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he has asked about. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. He has shown the king Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in the days to come. Your dream and the vision that passed through your mind as you were lying in bed are these. As your majesty was lying there, your mind turned to things to come, and the revealer of mysteries showed you what was going to happen. As for me, this mystery has been revealed to me, not because I have greater wisdom than anyone else alive, but so that your majesty may know the interpretation and that you may understand what went through your mind. Your Majesty looked, and there before him stood a large statue. The empires. An enormous, dazzling statue appeared, awesome in its appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, by the way, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and baked clay. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay, smashing them. So the clay represents humanity, humans that are just sort of making it up as we go along. And the iron represents Illuminati or Illuminism. This it's called complete possession, and it means you're just owned by a bad owner. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken into pieces and became like chaff on the thrashing floor in summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace. But the rock that struck the statue, us, became huge, like a mountain, and filled the whole earth. This was a dream, and now we will interpret it for the king. Your Majesty, you are the King of Kings, lowercase. The God of heaven has given you dominion and power and might and glory. In your hands he has placed all of mankind and the beasts of the field and the birds of the sky. Wherever they live, he has made you ruler over all of them, and you are the golden head. After you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Next, the third kingdom, the one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. Tanks. Try not to kill the wrong people. For iron breaks and smashes everything. And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others. Just as you saw that the feet and the toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom. Yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw the iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly of iron, strong and partly brittle, as the toes were partly iron and partly clay, this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture, and will not remain united any more than iron and clay can be mixed. Iron oxide. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. So in that same time, when things are Illuminati and humanistic, a kingdom will be set up. That's interesting. It will crush all. Okay. This is the meaning of the vision of the rock cut out of the mountain, but not by human hands. A rock that broke the iron and bronze and clay and silver and gold to pieces. The great God has shown the king what will take place in the future. The dream is true, and its interpretation is trustworthy. Then Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel and paid him honor and ordered that an offering of incense be presented to him. Okay, for Mark? Only if it's green, right? Or maybe a cigar. The king said to Daniel, "Surely your God is the God of gods, the Lord of kings, and the revealer of mysteries. For you were able to reveal this mystery." Then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler ruler over the entire province of Babylon, and placed him in charge of all the wise men. Moreover, at Daniel's request, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained at the royal court. There we go. Now you know. That is why you are children of prophecy. Cut from a rock, but not by human hands. After all, what human could think of all those things?